Okay, so help me out because I'm a little confused. Everybody says AI is bad. Everybody hates AI. The comments are unanimous. AI slop, it's soulless, and people are like, I can always tell. And yet, and yet, and yet, I feel like everybody went to a conference this summer and learned how to create AI flyers on ChatGPT. And now I'm seeing AI flyers everywhere, everywhere. So which one is it? Because I mean, it can be both. You can like dislike something, but also see the value. But like it's everywhere. So I want to talk about it today because it's actually not as much of a contradiction as I would like to believe. It's more of a misunderstanding about trust. And it's an important conversation, at least for me, that I want to have because when we have this conversation around AI and do we trust AI? Do we not trust AI? How do we feel about flyers? We're also having a conversation about our own livelihood. It's really a conversation about what can be trusted and what can't be trusted, right? So it that impacts our employability. And that matters a lot because how do we keep food on the table with AI advancing so quickly, right? So today we're going to talk about it. How does AI impact who's hiring you, how much you get paid, how you get promoted, and how you signal AI skill without everybody getting the ick? And I know you've seen an AI flyer and you've gotten the ick. And we don't want that to be us. So let's talk about it. So for example, I'm walking around, I live in a city, so I'm walking around and I see this flyer. It's like it's for chicken, it's for fried chicken. And from far away you can tell that it's, fried chicken. You can tell it's like super glossy, super, all the tells of AI flyers. But as I walk close to it, I see that the chicken is made out of these like little brown bubbles. And I'm just like, ew, I do not want to eat no AI generated chicken. It's like, what is it? Is it Phil of the Future? Do we remember Phil of the Future? I was like, no, 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 no. This is okay because Phil of the Future, it looked real, right? I don't want that. So I keep walking and I see another flyer, and I'm like, you know what? I would eat this. If I was hungry and I was picking between the AI chicken or this flyer that like the picture, it was like rice and like oxtail or something. I don't remember. Um, Yeah, I don't really remember exactly the food. It had a few food items on it. And I was like, okay, this is better. I would rather eat this. Right. And this is important because people want to know that you have expertise, right? Some AI flyers, some AI content we see we're okay with and some we're not. And it reminds me of when people started using ChatGPT more for writing and people were talking about the M dash and the way that AI writes in a certain syntax and way. And the reason why this matters, whether it's the M dash, whether it's the AI images, is people want to know that they can trust what you're putting out. They want to know that they're paying for your effort, your expertise. And a blatant, unedited AI generation signal, it's giving rush job up. It's giving I don't care. Or it's giving I don't really know. It's giving am I a fraud? And that's not the case. And when we talk about AI's disruption in in the economy and our jobs, the thing that's going to differentiate you is like, are you an expert in your thing? So maybe you're not an expert food photographer, which is fair and fine, but do you trust and do you stand by the food that you're making? Maybe you're not an expert in insert whatever, but do you stand by your opinions and your thoughts? And do not mishear me. You can definitely use AI to help you craft your thought, to help you with the other components of the flyer, but the actual thing that is supposed to be your expertise, whoop, baby girl, we have to like double down. Because if you do not double down in that, then what are we doing? What are we doing? So I just want you to like sit with it for a second and like think about your reactions when you see AI generated, whether it's food content, whether it's videos and you hear that voice, whether it's written content. So today I want us to talk about exactly what is off. And it's not just effort. It's not even a people are pushing back for a number of reasons. Some valid, some out of fear, and some is just like we don't know. By the end of this, we'll have one rule for where AI belongs in your business, your resume, your work, and where it isn't allowed or where you need to take a beat. Because th- the space that we're all in right now, everybody's hiring and promoting for AI use, right? There's nothing you can read or see that doesn't talk about AI and how someone wants AI in their business. But at the same time, we get the ick when we see certain things. So how do I signal the skill without giving your employer, your client, or your customer the ick? And why am I even talking about this? If you're new here, I'm Afua and I work in tech. I started out as a social worker. I started out in education, and over the years, I've gravitated towards tech. And my literal job is helping some of the biggest companies in the world adopt AI. These are companies that we all know and use daily. And I've enabled rooms of 80, 100, sometimes hundreds of people on AI tools. And I've watched like multi-million dollar pilots live and die. I've watched people quit their jobs because they're like, no, we don't want to do this AI thing. I've seen people lean into it and say like, yo, this is really helping in these ways. Right. And I've always, it's always interesting watching and being in these rooms and talking to people about how do you bring the humanity to all of this? And that's what I want to bring here because I build automations for a living. I teach people how to do this for a living. I walk into rooms and really have a conversation about what are we doing here? And on this channel, I'm publishing every single day for support in careers, money, and pivots. I've pivoted several times, as I mentioned earlier. How does one go from being a school social worker to now working in tech and AI for some of the biggest companies? And it's all rooted in human design. And that's really what I want to get into. Because our working life is a web, even now more so than ever. Here's what I want to say and I want to share in context. I use AI every single day for in my personal life and in my job. And there are incredible use cases. There's also a whole lot of hype that isn't true and adds to the slop and the rubbish and the harm of AI. Because AI has incredible use cases, but it also can be very harmful. And in this conversation, we're just going to talk about AI flyers because it's everywhere. It's in the real world, which like baffles me. Okay, but also it's in our news feeds and we're seeing it and we're wondering why. So I just think it's an easier place to begin this conversation. So again, I want to say upfront, I am not here to necessarily bash AI. I am not here to say AI is, the next coming. I know like there's a very nuanced conversation we need to have about this because trust is really the thing that we're talking about. So first, what even is a flyer, right? Let's and apply this to like anything. What is your job? What is your whatever? What even is a flyer? When someone creates a flyer, they're creating information. They're telling you the date, the time, the address of whatever's happening. So if you're just trying to send information to someone, you can just send a text. You can just send a text with a date, address, time, and maybe a sentence or two that tells you what is going on. You took the time to create a flyer. You took the time to create something that was pretty. Why do we do that? We do it because we want to show the effort, the care that we've put into the thing that we're doing and we're building and that we're inviting people into. And again, I really want to stress that I'm using the flyer, but like think about anything else in your own work and when you use AI and what you're signaling, right? Because a flyer is a proof of investment. It's a proof of like effort made visible. Because so much of what we do, so much of our expertise is pretty invisible. Like we know the hours we put into doing stuff. But when you do the thing, people look at you and they say, "Oh my God, you do this so effortlessly." But you know the amount of hours, expertise, sweat, blood, tears, all of it that went into it. A beautiful design flyer for a day party, right, is telling you, hey, someone put some time into this. Someone went and looked for the venue. Someone went and looked for the food. Someone looked for the entertainment. Someone did something and they want to convey that in this flyer. The thing here ultimately is I put in some effort. And when you see this flyer, your brain, without your permission, runs a little calculation. It says, "Well, if this person is trying, they put in some effort. Let me also respond with a little bit of effort, right? Let me maybe show up on time. Let me maybe pay whatever I need to pay. Let me up my effort because I see this person is putting effort." The effort is the message. And there's this like phrase that economists use. It's called costly signaling. Costly signaling, right? It's pretty much saying the signal works because it's expensive to produce, expensive in time and effort and And when you think about if you've been following me for some time, you know that their peacocks hold a really special place in my heart because of my grandmother. And if you look at a peacock, a male peacock, they be peacocking, right? Their feathers, they're bright, they're loud. And what are you saying when the peacock puts out its feathers? It is saying, hey, I can afford this. Look how healthy I am. Look, I'm glowing, right? That is what the peacock is telling you. It is telling you that it's put effort into it. It's telling you that it's God's favorite. Okay? And that is what a flyer is telling you. That is what whatever your output is telling you as well. It's saying that, hey, I put in some time, some sweat, some equity. I put in some care before I gave this thing to you. You know? Now, when someone just generates something through AI and then doesn't edit it, doesn't add their own possession, it's like, yeah, the flyer's pretty. And yes, I understand you put in some effort, but it kind of collapses that the cost of the signal to zero. It's really weird because at some level it's like, oh, maybe they tried because at least they went to AI, but it's also like, if I can blatantly tell that it's AI, right? The signal gets really muddied and it adds some layers to it. Right? It's like a wedding invitation printed on receipt paper. Why? So the words are all there. The information is there, but the words and information were never really the full point because if it was the full point, you would have just sent the text message. You would have just sent the email. But you chose to do a flyer. So when people see an AI flyer, when I see an AI flyer, the thought is like, what was why? And obviously, like I said, I work in AI, so I have a different understanding of AI, I think, than some. But there's a whole spectrum of AI understanding. And for the most part, the general sentiment of AI is not warm, which is wild because of why there's so many AI flyers to begin with. But the sentiment is not a warm one, right? So when people see your AI flyer, they now attach whatever their feelings of AI are onto the thing. And again, I want you to insert whatever you're working on here. So AI flyer, text copy, project, whatever it is. People then put their thoughts, their sentiments of AI onto that. Right. And that then starts clouding whatever it is that you've delivered. Because even though everybody's like mad at AI, everybody's still dabbling in AI. Right. So then there's like this weird tug and pull. And then when something is blatantly AI, you're kind of like putting yourself in that weird tug and pull. And we'll talk about this another day in more depth, but it's exactly why I'm pro AI as a skill. Because again, when you come back to these flyers, if you create a flyer in Canva versus a generation through a chatbot like ChatGPT, it produces wildly different results. One gets a side eye and one gets praise. And that gap between them is very learnable. And what I like to call small bites. And that's the incremental learning in I wouldn't say perfecting, but really understanding the skill. And that's the whole difference. And when we talk about people who are getting hired and people getting promoted and et cetera, it is that small bites, that incremental, because if you're just shooting over a prompt in ChatGPT versus if you're using the right tool, Canva, and then the AI tools within Canva to create a flyer, it gives a very different end result. And that is the difference between getting hired, getting promoted, etc. So the bottom line really is like when we see an AI flyer, we're not judging the graphics necessarily. We're recalculating the commitment, the effort, right? So ultimately, the food flyer kind of works in the dead signal. And this is the part I want to convey because this is where the trust comes in. A photo of the food is the one part of the flyer that only reality is allowed to supply. It's the product. It's the entire reason that you're walking into the restaurant. So if someone generates the photo, and I'm not talking about tweaking the photo or anything, but like purely generates the photo where you're getting little bubble chicken, it's not necessarily laziness because obviously you put an effort in going to the chat, but it's a lie about the exact thing that you're asking me to buy. And now this trickles down to everything. This trickles down to if you are someone who writes for a living and you start with the AI as generating the thought versus you writing everything and then using AI to edit it, it's a lie. And when people see that lie, they book. And seeing that distinction, like, or at least understanding that distinction helps understand how you then use AI and present AI work in your day-to-day life, in your job, etc. And in the way that you write a resume, the way that you create whatever it is that you're creating, right? Because I think that explains what makes AI feel like fine versus gross. And it's a shift in line. So I'm not even gonna sit here and hold you and say like, oh, this a clear-cut answer, because there isn't. People are still trying to figure out AI to the public is still pretty new. So people are still trying to find that line. But ultimately, leaning on the side of trust is going to get you further, right? Because no one minds that the restaurant used AI to schedule the post. Most people don't care if AI wrote the caption. And this is specifically for you're going to the restaurant not because the chef is a writer. You're going because they're a chef, right? So you might not care that they wrote the caption or they resized the image using AI or they let the AI pick the posting time because that's the foundation, that's the plumbing, that's the construction. Like I'm not the chef doesn't need to be a strategist, right? The chef needs to be a chef. So if you give me a fake bubble dish, mm, baby girl, I don't want to eat bubbles. Right. So every AI use that makes your skin crawl or that makes you like double think is the same crime in different clothes. Something that was supposed to be proof of your expertise, of your experience got manufactured. And again, like I want you to attach this to anything, right? The marketer, the salesperson, the whatever, like what are you bringing to the equation, right? If you're in sales, yeah, you can go out and have the AI find prospects for you maybe, right? Because now you're spending less hours scraping LinkedIn. It will be wild if you had the AI like learn your voice and then just robocall people. That's not cute. That's not nice, right? So the biggest offenders are the ones that are totally made up. It's where you're outsourcing the units, the thing that makes you human, that gives you expertise, right? I think there's usually grace for tweaking and adjusting. I don't think anybody's mad if you fix the lighting, if you tweak something, but people are mad at like straight fiction. And I'll go back to the chicken. Maybe the chef did not have a perfect picture. And we all do want perfection, myself included. Like I spend way too long trying to fine tune things and perfect things. And therefore AI is tempting because it can produce something quickly and near perfect. But the thought that goes through our mind is that like if you are an expert in this, whatever this is, if the food was good, you would show me the real food. And you would trust me to know that like the food, right? And I'm not going to deny or put aside that there are people whose whole life is to take photos of food, to style food. If you maybe sprayed oil on your food to look shinier, that is a different thing than if you have a bubble chicken, right? Because the AI image doesn't just fail to add trust, it subtracts subtracts it. I don't know why that was so hard for me. It tells me you don't trust your own product, so why should I? And I know that's not a full story because ultimately what you're trying to do is market, right? I understand that, but I also think the biggest marketing is saying like, this is my thing. No, I'm not feeding you AI bubbles. But ultimately, people want you to be an artist that's sensitive about your shit. Word to Erica Badu, right? The whole point, especially the pushback of AI, is now we want the humanness of it all. We want the you of it all. So give us that. Let AI be in the background doing whatever it's doing to push the image forward, right? Like, because yeah, I want to know the best fried chicken in the city. And, you know, if you've created a system in the back end to post your picture on time, etc., fine. But like the actual picture of the thing, I want it. And I want it to be real. And in this conversation and just generally in any conversation about AI or anything really, I do want to add some nuance. So let me add a little bit of the other side here. Because I sat in the other chair. I've sat in a space where I needed to deliver something really quickly. I have events that I needed to deliver really quickly. And I've used AI to create things. But then I look at it and I'm not super proud of it. And I've submitted things that I'm not super proud of. And 9 out of 10 times it comes back and it's not good for me and my expertise and my image and the amount of work I've put into my career. Right, but it's so tempting because the tool is right there and it's cheap, like at least it's cheap for us in the immediate. And the tool, it makes something beautiful in 40 seconds. And you can feel like, oh, I'm keeping up with how fast everything is moving. Because we're all just trying to exist. We're all trying to be part of this thing that is constantly asking us to produce. So I have nothing but respect for it. Because I get it. I get it, right? It's hard running a small business. It's hard having constant pressure. And even though AI is supposed to make, work easier, efficient, whatever, like we know that as we have more of these tools that make our jobs supposedly more efficient, it's actually making our jobs harder because people are expecting more of us, right? So I can't just be like flippantly like, oh, hire someone. I know it's not that easy. I know it's not cheap. So when you're using AI in anything that you're doing, the question is, what did the customer come here to verify? And the customer is anyone. That is a person that you want to hire you. That is the client that hired you for something. What do they want from me? They want your judgment. They want your expertise. They want to see the food. They want to see the food. They want your expertise. They came to verify the food is real and the care is real. So even if that means for now it's your phone, right? I would say I'm using food as an example. I'm using a fly as an example, but spend a weekend on YouTube learning to shoot food on your phone. Figure out the window light, wipe the plate edge, figure out how to plate, or hire someone who will actually take photos and stretch them for months. Use AI to think through all the different shots that you will need for different promotions. Maybe you're taking photos of different ingredients, right? And therefore you can now use it in different photos and carousels. You can also take the real photo, then let AI develop it, fix the lighting, sharpen it, clean up the background, stressing that the AI should not be adding anything, right? It can improve the visual around it, but it's not, you're not asking it to cook the food. A third thing is let AI carry the design layer. Understand the tools in your trade. For this instance, we're talking about Canva. Right? So Canva is a company that is built on flyers and images and all this. So allow that template to help you out. Canva now also has AI assistants in it. The fonts, the layout, the resizing. That's the plumbing, that's the foundation. And it's where AI belongs in the background. But that real thing, you always were the one that provided it. And when I say understand the tool, there's so many AI tools out there. Your job, the way that you get hired today, the way that you get promoted today is understanding the best tool for your role, your expertise, to move your work forward where you trust it the most. If you're someone who deals in images, Canva makes sense. Why? Because Canva, way before we were using AI in the way that we use it today, they have been out here working on templates and making sure that people have really good visual storytelling. So any AI that they add to it is compounding on it, right? And that's important. And people want the real thing for a reason. Real is hard. Real means that you spend time, that you're showing your gaps and get it. Like making this video is hard. Like there's so much I would rather be better about all the things, right? But if I outsource my voice, my face, my this, my that, you might watch for a while. But the day that you want to connect an event, a call, a human moment, and you realize this was not me, was some AI, whatever, I would never get you back. And I want to be here. I want us to learn and grow and thrive together. And if I outsource my expertise, my lived experience, it's also a disservice to me because I put in a lot of work to get here. And hopefully through these videos we'll like learn together. And that's also like we're building that. So like I don't want that to be gone. So here's the rule. I'm almost done. I'll leave you with writing the invisible and never generate the evidence. What I mean by that is everything you produce at work is one of three things. One is plumbing. That's the scheduling, the formatting, the first drafts, right? It's the meeting notes, the resize, the reformat, automate it ruthlessly. If you can put a rule with it, if X then Y, build the automation. If this happens, then you do this. If someone sends an email, you send a thank you note, right? No one wants you to be suffering through the plumbing, right? Two is evidence. The photo of the food, the actual thing that is your expertise, the metric you actually move, the client's actual words, the demo actually working, my face, my voice on camera, don't generate it. Not because you necessarily get caught, but because evidence is where trust lives. It's how you keep getting paid. When we talk about what is going to happen with the future of work, who's going to be employed, what will we be employed in, AI will change quite a lot, but trust is the one asset that it doesn't survive being faked for too long. And three is relationship. The feedback, the thank yous, the hard conversation. AI can help you prepare. It can help you rehearse, especially if you're someone who's like, I know for me, like AI really helps me like put my thoughts on paper, sort it out. And there's like a number of reasons, right? Whether it's anxiety, whether it's cultural, etc. AI can help you. By the end of the day, you as a human need to show up to the conversation. Those are the three things. I told you that I work with Fortune 500s. I do this for a living. And the projects that die, right, are the projects that really do not allow the human to come in. The judgment, the evidence, the human moments. So that's what I am offering. So this is why, how do you use AI? It's now an interview question. And there are like three levels: the doing, the managing, the teaching. The strongest answers names where you refuse to use it. So an answer when you're asking an interview or in a cover letter or even if you're posting on LinkedIn is, I automate my reporting pipeline. I manage a couple of research agents and I never let AI write my client emails from scratch because I know that's where the relationship lives. So you're signaling that you're understanding where judgment is placed. And that's really, really crucial and important. And when I'm interviewing, when I'm supporting people and I understand that they understand where AI comes in and where AI doesn't, that's really important. Because right now, AI is table stakes. Knowing where it's forbidden, that's the expertise. So if this reframe something for you, one ask is subscribe. I'll be here every day sharing receipts from my own work from inside the AI rollout at the biggest companies in the world. So I don't believe in hype in either direction. I don't believe it's all doom and gloom, but I also don't believe it's like the best thing since sliced bread. But before you go, run this in your own work because whatever you do, you have your version of a flyer, something public, something that carries proof of you. Maybe it's literal, maybe it's your resume, right? But the rule still holds perfectly here. Is AI tightening your sentences or is it creating it? If it's plumbing, it's fine. But the receipts, the numbers, the outcomes, the projects, that is you. That's evidence. And generating those, it's a shaky line. Maybe your flyers, your portfolio, your LinkedIn, your demo, your menu, right? The three questions to ask is this plumbing, evidence, or relationship? Automate the plumbing. Protect the evidence with your life. and show up personally for the relationships.